I'm here in Tomatoes in Medjugorje. It's a nice restaurant, and I'm this. What's your name?
Breffni Gully.
And where are you from?
I'm originally from Derry in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I live now in Donegal, but yes, between Derry and Donegal.
And how often have you been in Medjugorje?
I suppose, Thomas, what do we say? I would say I've only been here about 10 times, I'd say. About 10.
Why do you come back
12.
all the time?
Well, it's a great question, but I find tremendous peace. I get very relaxed here, and I feel very much, from the very first time, I feel very much that I come into myself fully when I'm here.
And when you heard the first time about Medjugorje, about the story, what did you think at the first time?
The first time I heard was in 1985. The first time I was watching TV, this is a very interesting story. I was watching TV in my own home, and
That was Northern Ireland at the
in Northern Ireland, and the Late Late Show, what used to be called the Late Late Show, came on. Gay Byrne was talking to someone, I can't remember who, about Medjugorje and these visionaries and what was happening in Medjugorje. And I listened, and I was totally drawn by the word Medjugorje, and I couldn't pronounce it, but I was totally drawn by it. Now this is, you can say this is imagination or not, but it actually happened. As I was listening, a hand came out of the TV and came across my sitting room, a big long hand, and grabbed me by the collar like this and gave me a tug. And I was sitting beside my wife, and I said to her, I'm going to and I couldn't pronounce it, to Medjugorje. Now this was I think on St. Stephen's Day, 1985.
Yeah.
And I was here within 3 or 4 days, and there was nothing here, and it was minus.
Wow, 4 days later.
4 days later.
After the TV
Yes,
show.
yeah.
Whoa, and?
I went away. I just got on the phone next, and I said, I need to get to Medjugorje, this place, and I got a flight. I think it cost me a lot of money to get here because it was so late. But I arrived here, and it was minus 17 degrees. There was no village here, no village, just the church and the building beside the church anyway.
Yeah.
And as soon as I came here, I went into the chapel, and I went up and I knelt down in the chapel, and I started to cry. And the tears were coming out of my eyes, and I hadn't cried for years. My wife came and said, what are you crying about? And I said, I'm not crying. And she said, but you know, you're crying. I said, no, I'm not crying. Well, she says, there's tears running down your face. I said, yeah, but these are not tears.
Man.
These are not tears. I said, I feel so happy. She said, what are you experiencing? I said, well, I've come home to myself for the first time in my life.
Wow.
I've come home into myself. It's as if I always lived a short distance from myself. And suddenly Our Lady had brought me out here to say, here's a grace. You're going to be inside yourself from now on. Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. It was really, really beautiful. And everything that happened here that time was glorious because there was nobody here. The visionaries came down. They were having Our Lady was coming to them, and it was in the church. If you look up at St. James's Church on the right-hand side, there's a room there, and they come down. I think it was Visca, came down and asked me, and there was only 2 of us in the church to go up into during the vision, right? Now, they were all children then, but I remember so well being in the room, and Our Lady appeared, and the synchronicity of those children, impossible. The synchronicity with which they fell to their knees and their heads shot up, it was unbelievable. And I remember thinking, there's something seriously wrong. There's something not right here. And then I realized that they'd all fallen so fast, but nobody touched the ground because it was a tiled floor. There was no sound. So I realized that immediately, wow, that's a miracle. That's impossible.
They were not on the floor.
They didn't touch the ground.
Wow.
They all fell fast together, and you would have heard the knees thudding.
But you did
No, nothing. And I said, oh, that's unusual. Now, I'm naturally, I think all my life I've been kind of disobedient. And you were told not to take photographs. But of course, me being who I am, I got up and took a photograph during the apparition. Right? Now, I developed that photograph. And Our Lady made sure, shortly after I saw it, that I never saw it again because it disappeared. It disappeared. It's true. So after that, I went home and I told so many people about Medjugorje, and a lot of people around me and around my houses, different in the estate, around the different came here straight away because I talked so much about it that.
That's Our Lady wants that, not to bring afterwards people back around.
Yeah, Thomas, I felt full of joy, and it was a grace that I've never ever experienced before in my life, that I somehow or other come home to myself. And I think people will understand this. People in general would understand, because I think there's a lot of people. I don't know. I'm just speculating. There's a lot of people like myself, and they don't know why they live a short distance from themselves, in a sense. And I now realize that there was an awful lot of hurt and pain that I couldn't actually face. But Our Lady brought me here by the scruff of the neck. She brought me here for healing, for inner healing. Yeah, family inner healing.
Stories, stuff like
family stories, exactly. And I've learned so much since that I must concentrate spiritually on the deep wounds that had affected me, and not live in automation or overemphasis on verbal prayer. I mean, it's beautiful, verbal prayer, but that the Lord wants me to be contemplative or meditative or reflective deep inside, and to know Him personally rather than superficially,
Yeah, no formalities, from the heart.
Yeah, from the heart, exactly. That's probably the right way to say it, Thomas. Just from the heart, yeah.
And how would you give people hope who have maybe family wounds? What should they do?
Well, I think the primary thing is to realize that you must actually pray that the Lord will give you the grace to open, because these things are so deep and they're unconscious, maybe, in the subconscious mind. Now, I mean, subconscious means it's driven down very deep. And I actually have now called these wounds that I had precognitive. Before I could even think, precognitive. So,
as a baby in the womb of the mother,
wherever, something like this. And I think many people suffer these type of wounds, and they live all their life not knowing what
the heck is going on.
What the heck is going on.
It's hell, actually.
It's hell, and then they search Mama Mary, and they come here and they find some level of comfort, but they don't go deep enough. Excuse me, well, I'm talking about myself.
Like
that they may find comfort, but it's still not deep enough.
It's not about a comfort zone just to talk. You have to work on that.
They have to work
at it.
I think so, and I think there's a price to pay for healing.
Yes.
Now, I was at a mass the other day, and the priest said, yes, we must pay a price to be healed. And I thought to myself, yeah, this is absolutely correct. So,
what kind of a price is that?
It's a very, very good question, Thomas, because I think we have to give up our old self-piteous logic, our old angry. I mean, I was an angry person, well hidden, but it would come out. It would come out at times when I think, oh, where did that come from?
I'm so impulsive.
Impulsive. Yeah.
Same with me.
Most importantly, not hidden, veiled, but self-pity. And anger drove me to achieve a lot of things, and I thought this was good, but in retrospect, okay, I achieved a lot, but it increased my ego, my protective instincts against the Lord, and it built bigger and bigger shields. So now I realize that the wound must be exposed, but the price to pay is to let go of all that. Let go of whom I thought I was, who I had to be in order to protect myself from life. You see?
Yeah.
I think nobody wants to face their primal instincts that we're all hopeless and helpless without the Lord. Nobody wants to face this.
Yes.
But the truth is,
You have to.
that you have to.
You have to. And I
You
would
have to
like
become nothing.
Yes.
You have to become nothing.
I would like to add something also. You know, I had a situation lately. Something didn't go my way. We drove down with the car.
Yes.
And there's a figure passing by. He looked like my dad. And I said, this is because you educated me like this. And I stopped directly and said, this has nothing to do with my dad. I take responsibility. I'm an mature man.
Excellent.
And my father is a sinner like me. He did the best.
Excellent.
And we have to let go of these things to make other people pay the price. We have to work on
I think
ourselves.
that's beautiful.
No?
I think that, but that's
Just to add this to your story.
no, that's right. So, but what you're really saying is, we must accept responsibility
Ability.
for ourselves and our
Yes.
own actions. Now,
Yes.
I mean, I certainly managed to blame, God love them in heaven, my own parents.
Yes.
I blame my parents all my life. You know, I didn't tell anybody, but I was full of pity and for
Anger.
myself and anger
For them and pity for you.
yeah, and really, you know, that's there can be no healing unless you let go. You decide, okay, they didn't mean to treat me or to hurt me in whatever way they did. They didn't want to do that, but they did because they're human.
Yeah.
So let's say it's natural. It's the first sin of our Adam and Eve, primal sin. You know.
Exactly.
And everybody has this. So the only way through this is total forgiveness. I have to forgive my parents and say, God love you in heaven. I'm sorry for causing you so much trouble. You know. Now I feel, Thomas. Now I feel free. You know, free for the first time in my life. I'm 70, and I feel, you know, an interior freedom. I'm not saying I'm totally healed yet, but I'm getting there.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah.
And you know, is the confession, does it play a role in that?
I think confession is very, very important because we don't identify, at least here in Medjugorje particularly, where the priest gives you a lot of time. It's very hard just to be to litanize your sin, to give a litany of sins. That's not Medjugorje. They give you time to discuss, you know, each sin, and this gives you deeper knowledge of, you know, why you would hold on to a sin, because it helps me. Like if anger is the sin, right? It helps me when I'm angry with people that it's their fault. Non-acceptance of my humanity. Everybody else is to blame.
Yes.
You know, like this. So confessions is paramountly important, of course. Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
would you tell people? Maybe they want to go now to confession. They want to go on that way of healing, and they think, "Wow, if I go to the priest 20 years, I didn't go. What will he think of me?" What would you
Yeah.
tell them?
Well, I think that's foolish because they're there, and there's many good priests who don't want. They don't want you to just name your sins and run on. They want you to actually experience. There's many, particularly in Medjugorje, but there's many good priests who want you to stay with understanding yourself. Why you do this? Why do you do this? I mean, it's a simple question. I mean, imagine there are many people, I believe, Thomas, who go all their life like me, and they go to their deathbed, and it's on their deathbed
And it comes up
that they realize that they were never in themselves. They lived a short distance from themselves because they were so angry with everybody in the world. And then they realize, wow, I'm dying and I never lived.
I
Can you
experienced
imagine
that.
this?
Yes.
Can you imagine dying and realizing that you never lived? So, confessions is total freedom. When you go to confession, you're going to be given by the Lord total and absolute freedom.
Beautiful.
Yeah, absolute freedom. And you know then that it's me that chooses. No one else. I choose.
And I have to take responsibility.
And I must take responsibility for those choices.
Not the parents, not the mother, not the father, friends, whoever.
Yes.
Yeah. And I saw yesterday we were on the mountain. We prayed the rosary. Why do you pray the rosary? Does that prayer mean?
It's funny. I know in the Book of Truth, which I love, the Book of Truth. Our Lady says, Mama Mary says, if you pray one rosary, you protect yourself totally from the devil. Mm-hmm. One rosary a day. If you pray 2 rosaries, it protects all your family. Mm-hmm. And if you pray 3 rosaries, you're saving your country. Mm-hmm. 3 rosaries a day.
Beautiful.
So I believe what she said. Mm-hmm. I believe this so powerfully that myself and Sandra here would pray 3 rosaries every day together because it's important.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and you know what? This is the truth. It's become, Thomas, more necessary to say it slowly. It's the more I say it, conscious. Yeah, with the heart. That's the one. That's one.
And you see difference now in your life praying the rosaries? How does it affect you?
I do. See, if I get up in the mornings and I forget to say the rosary, I'm telling you, the Lord or Mama Mary reminds me because the devil attacks, particularly in the old mentality.
Yeah.
The old mentality can start again. The old man can start up, and then you say, "Oh, I need to say the rosary for protection."
Wonderful.
Yes.
And you know, there are a lot of people out there. They think God the Father is an old man with a white beard, very angry, and he wants to put us to hell. And that's not true. Can you describe a bit God the Father?
Well, for me, God is an unbelievable type of love now that I think, unbelievable that we cannot even comprehend, that he cries every moment of every day for the sinners because he knows, he sees that they're marching their way to hell and he cries. In fact, each soul, like it's unbelievable that each soul is known 1000% by God. Everything he does, everything he thinks is known, and God cries, please. He's begging in each moment, please, please turn back. But he will never interfere with your free will.
Because true love gives choice. You know it is when you have a girlfriend.
True love gives choice.
You give presents. You say, you do if you like, you come. You don't force.
Yeah, exactly, Thomas.
That's how God maybe is a bit like, no? That's the freedom.
Freedom, yeah.
And can you say a bit like what Jesus did in your life?
Well, Jesus, of course, I see, I mean, and that's only really, honestly, Thomas, in the last year or two, that I really see the sacrifice that he made. Like, can we really believe that he was totally human and still terrified and still went on? The love was so much more powerful. And I try and think about that most days. I try and think, Thomas, that I have to make more effort. The effort he made, I have to try and love those people who hate me and look cynically at me and all that. I have to make that effort to love them because he made such effort for us. And everything's about denying my will like he did and obey the Father's will. No one can come to the Father except through me. So I have to obey everything I saw Jesus doing. So Jesus is my...
And he says, forgive 77 times and more. No?
7 times 70.
Exactly. And that's the hard part for us. But you can also, if you can't forgive, you say, God, I can't forgive. Do it instead of me, for me. I have to learn it. I'm human.
Exactly. I think I think the real thing, not to beat ourselves up, we must remember that if we consciously, genuinely ask, now we mightn't feel forgiveness, but just to ask, please, I am willing and I want to forgive this person. Now I still might feel anger, but the Lord says, that's okay. You're making a conscious effort and I will help you. So we can't go away and beat ourselves up. Because we have a tendency to do that as well. That's no good. Don't beat yourself up. No, you're loved totally as you are. This is the one last thing I would really like to say is that we are perfect in the eyes of God. He made us with such dignity, personal dignity and personal integrity. And he would die rather than offend our dignity and our integrity. So why do we give it away so easily? Why do we allow other people's opinion to become so important to us? Why?
Exactly.
It's so sad because no one can damage my dignity or my integrity unless I let them.
Yes. You have to open the door for the devil or for the darker side.
Yeah, I think so, you know.
And I see you have, it looks like you have a personal relationship with Christ. How can somebody have this personal relationship?
Well, for me, honestly, the most fundamental thing is to sit. Can you believe this? Jesus is in every church.
Yeah. Go for it.
And you go to the church, and there's no one there. Jesus heals everybody. Jesus, if you sit before Jesus, Jesus will heal you.
Yeah.
Jesus will, I guarantee, well, I can't guarantee, but Jesus will heal you. But people don't go.
It's written in the Bible.
It's written in the Bible. People will not go and sit with him. Now, I think adoration is the most important thing in this life. In this life. To go and sit for an hour with Jesus in silence and say, Lord, I just want to listen to what you have to say. Okay, our thoughts go through our mind for like our automated thoughts, like, you know, what I need to get for the shopping, and, you know, you're sitting there and you think, oh, sure, I'm not even here. That's fine. Once you make the decision to sit with Jesus, Jesus will contact you, will touch you. I believe this. But you need to do this. I've experienced this, and I need to do it on a daily basis, though, that I go to adoration every day. I do an hour at least every day, because I can't say that Jesus is truly present in the Blessed Sacrament, and yet I don't go every day. I mean, if you had the most loving, beautiful friend who guaranteed to heal you every moment of every day, and you don't go.
You would go.
Yeah, but you don't go, then you don't believe it.
Look when you have a girlfriend, how you run to see her.
Yeah, your girlfriend, you go and meet her straight away. Yeah, give us a hug.
Give a hug. Exactly. That's how it goes, and that's what Jesus wants to give us for free and unconditionally everything. You know?
That's for sure. That's for sure.
And if you haven't made the experience, pray that you make the experience of this unconditional love in your heart, and then you will go. No?
Yeah, and you have to be prepared to sit, though, for a number of weeks or whatever it takes. You have to be able to sit and know that your automated thoughts, just to look at them, watch them passing through your mind. Watch them passing through your mind. I have one story. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a bit long. But you can.
Go for it.
A friend of mine from Australia, a very good friend of mine, knew a man who was in adoration every night, cycled across Melbourne City every single night in life. He was an old man of 70 or 80. He cycled across, and he sat all night, every night, in adoration, right? And waited till 9 o'clock Mass in the morning. When my
night long?
All night long he stayed, every night.
Wow.
And when my friend talked to him, he discovered that this man explained to him that he had been a Satanist, that he had worshipped the devil, and that he had a conversion. Now, how he had this conversion, I don't know exactly, but he had a conversion, and now he believed so much in the true presence that he said, I cannot sleep. I must go after my work every night to Jesus, and he spent every single night with Jesus. The next morning at Mass, he went to 9 o'clock Mass, and one particular morning, this lady came to him and said, look, I know you're a holy man, you're here every night, will you please pray for my daughter? My daughter has cancer and she's dying. And he said, no. He said, no. He couldn't actually understand why people wouldn't ask Jesus themselves, because he experienced the love of Jesus. And he said, once I asked, he said, no. So the next morning at Mass, he went up to the lady because he felt sorry he had said no. And he said, okay, I will pray for your daughter, but please, I don't understand why you don't ask Jesus yourself, you know? So he said he went away and he prayed. Within 2 or 3 weeks, the girl was totally healed. She had no cancer. When she went back to the doctors, they could find no trace of cancer. So here's a Satanist before Jesus, and he was shocked that Catholics wouldn't ask Jesus, wouldn't come to Jesus like him. He couldn't understand why there was nobody else there. He was a Satanist and he couldn't understand, where's everybody? Jesus is here. They say they believe, but do they? I thought that was some story.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And maybe at the end, we hear the nice church bells of Medjugorje, of St. James.
Yeah.
What would you tell people? Why should they come on time to Medjugorje?
Well, I think Medjugorje is now truly the place to go. I've been to, I mean, please don't get me wrong, but I've been to Fatima, I've been to Lourdes, been to Knock in Ireland. Where else? Well, anyway,
that's
many
big ones. Yeah.
Many.
Yeah.
And for me, you actually feel, I don't know, Thomas, but you feel the presence of Our Lady here because she's still coming.
Yep.
She's still, and you feel that presence. I always feel so relaxed. It's as if I have come home. Yes, that's the only way. And I think people before flying becomes too expensive, before there's another whatever you call it, lockdown,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I think people should try and get here if you really believe. I think you should come
and experience Medjugorje.
Experience Medjugorje. I mean, it's beautiful.
What the Lord is, no?
Yeah, exactly. But you know how powerful it is yourself, Thomas, because you chose to stay here, because you couldn't leave the intimacy that's here. I mean, that's a great word, intimacy. You're actually, Thomas and myself can become, we've only met a few times, but we're very, very close. And there's an intimacy that's a real Christian family.
Yeah. From the heart.
From the heart.
As Our Lady said.
Yeah, from the heart. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this beautiful interview.
It's a pleasure. God bless.